Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Ask the Expert series. Today, our topic is solo loans and mass save heat loan. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Dominique Veldier. I'm your community engagement specialist. Joining me also is my colleague, Migdalia Gomez. She's AVP of community engagement. She's in the background, so she'll be assisting me with this presentation as well. So just a little bit of household rules. We'll be reducing any background noises that are going on. And also we'd like to encourage you to use the Q&A feature. So we can actually start right now and just kind of see where you're joining us from, if you're joining us from Boston or somewhere else. So welcome. All right, let me check it out to see where everybody's joining us from. So while you guys are submitting where you're joining us from, I'm going to continue to remind you that the presentation is being recorded. So if you miss anything and you'd like to rewatch it in the future, you can join our YouTube channel at MyHUECU. And also at the end of this webinar, please take our post-workshop survey. Just kind of let us know what we did right, what we can improve on. So I'll remind you at the end anyway. Thank you. Oh, let me check it out. Someone is joining us from Stowe, Mass. Thank you so much for joining us. This is great. All right, so I'm going to move ahead and move on. So I wanted to remind you that the credit union is not for profit. It really exists to provide services for the Harvard community. We solely exist for our members. And once you're a member, you're always a member. And we have a variety of different products and services from savings, loans, checking, a variety of different things that will really to provide services for you. And you can access us anywhere in person or online. And today, our panelists, we'd like to introduce you to, it's Lucas Constanti. He is Operations and Sustainability Specialist, as well as Iris Scanlon. She is Consumer Loan Origination Coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate your expertise here today. You can turn your cameras on. We want to see your lovely faces, of course. Hello, Miss Iris. Hello, Lucas. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And we're going to continue with some of our questions. Let's see what everybody has in store for us. So the first question is, what is the Mass Save Heat Loan? I'm going to send that over to Iris.
Yeah, so the Mass Save Heat Loan is a loan that you can take out with our organization that allows you to update energy efficiencies in your home. This includes items such as installation or even boilers, anything that includes just making sure that your home becomes more green, more energy efficient.
All right, let's check out this next question. How do I get a Mass Save Heat Loan? Iris?
All right, so Mass Save Heat Loans, they can be a very complicated process because even though the Mass Save website has a lot of information, it doesn't exactly take you from point A to point B. So what you have to do first is go onto the Mass Save website itself and actually sign up for an assessment. What you're going to do is when you do the assessment, someone will actually come into your home and take a look at every room from top to bottom, see what they can do to suggest energy efficiencies for your home. At that point, they will give you a form that is called a heat loan intake form. So all that information will be on one form. After that, you will be able to look at contractors so that you can start the work on your actual home. When you get a contractor who has, won the bid, so to speak, and you are going to look for financing, you take the form as well as the contractor proposals and submit them back to Mass Save. At that point, you'll get what is called a Mass Save Heat Loan Authorization Form. Authorization form will give you a basic breakdown of the contractor, the gross amount that the work is for, any rebates that you might get, as well as what the net amount is. And the net amount is the amount that you will apply for a Mass Save Heat Loan at a financial institution to actually finance for the work. So once you have those all sorted out, you can come to our website at huecu.org. We have a Mass Save Heat Loan application that you can fill out. When you fill out the application, it takes us usually about 1 business day to get back to you. But during the process, you can submit the authorization form to us so we can review the amount that you are looking for. From there, our lending team will work with you to ensure that we have the proper documentation, we are giving you the needed funds for the actual upgrades, and that we are, excuse me, providing you checks to pay the contractor. And for our heat loan, it is $25,000 for up to 84 months.
All right, thank you, Iris. Just to remind everyone, if you didn't have a chance to capture some of that information, because it is a lot of information now, also check on in our chat. We have that information there for you, so you can be able to write it down on your piece of paper or anywhere that you're taking your notes. All righty, let's move on to the next question. What is the timeline for Mass Save Loan?
It really depends, because when you actually do your assessment, what you're going to do is you're going to have to take a look at the contractors that you are going to be working with. Their timeline is going to affect how you actually end up submitting your application to us. So with us, our loan applications, when you are approved, is good for 30 days. So double check with your contractor to make sure when they can schedule the work. Currently, a lot of contractors have a lot of work scheduled, so sometimes their timing can be anywhere from 2 or 3 months out. Always double check, because if you end up not doing the work within the 30 days that you actually submit it to us, we have to close out the application and you'll have to reapply. And on that note, your heat loan authorization is actually only good for 90 days. Once your heat loan authorization expires, you have to go back to Mass Save to get it renewed.
All right, thank you, Iris. Next question. What options are there for people who live in condos and townhouses? Lucas?
Hi, yes, that's a great question. For Mass Save is available to most people as long as you own the property. And you pay your utilities. For solar, it depends on your HOA and your condo association, more so for the banks and the government. If you get a solar loan, it doesn't tie back to any property, which is why the interest rate is a little bit higher. So if you do live in a condo or townhouse and the HOA says, yes, you can put solar on a portion of the roof for you, you can qualify for the rebates, you get a loan. I would just say make sure that they hook up the solar to your electric meter.
Thank you, Lucas. Next question. Are there any government grants, rebates, or credits to help install solar? Lucas?
Yes. Currently, the government has a 28% income tax rebate if you install solar, which with the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act will rise to 30% for solar, as well as battery installation, which will probably take effect in 2023. So that's 30% or 20% of the total installation cost. Massachusetts also has a tax rebate, which is 12.5%, but that maxes out at $1,000. Massachusetts also has an incentive called net metering. This is more of a way to solve a problem when everyone was in the office during the day, as electricity would be generated when we were not there, so not to use it. But any electricity that you generate and do not use will get sent to the grid, and the utility company you use will buy it from you at market rate. So what you would pay for your utility, and it will show up as a rebate or a credit on your bill. So that's still going on. That's a great little incentive. We also have the Solar Massachusetts Renewable Target. It's also known as SMART. It's replacing the Solar Renewable Energy Credit, where utility companies will pay you for every kilowatt hour you produce. Utility companies are required to have a certain amount of their electricity be offset by renewable energy credits. However, I would check with either masmartsolar.com or the Department of Energy Resources here to make sure that the utility companies have not met their requirement. They usually pay you a couple of cents a kilowatt hour you produce, but that could add up to $1,000 or more a year. So that's a great incentive as well. And the last incentive, which isn't really an incentive, is just the money you would save on your electricity bill, which, $100 a month or so can add up as well. So it's another way to kind of look at how you can get solar without having the monthly payments be so scary.
And every little bit helps to save. Thank you so much, Lucas. Next question. What's the household income limit to qualify for Mass Save Heat loan? Iris?
So for this question, it's actually a very good question, but it is very subjective. Because what we have to do when you actually submit your application is we have to look at the amount that you are applying for versus your income versus your debt level that is actually on your credit report. So it really depends.
Okay, next question. Hold on one second. Does financing solar panels come down to loan interest rates, or are there any other things to consider? Lucas?
Yes, there's another great question. Usually it will come down to loan interest rates if that's what you're looking for. A lot of financing through solar is still, it's new to banks, and they're trying to still figure out how to kind of lower interest rates when solar panels are something that can be taken off the roof and moved around. So it's still high risk for loan. We do see a lot of people taking out home equity lines of credit to pay for solar because those interest rates will be lower because the property that you live in is used as collateral, so it's less risk financially.
Okay. Next question is a solar loan through HECU better than financing it through the solar company, Lucas?
Another great question. It really comes down to what you were looking for. I usually like to compare financing through a solar company as financing a car through a dealership. The dealership is working with the bank, so you'll have pretty most likely the same rates and requirements, but I would say just make sure that the terms and agreements match what you're comfortable with. You wouldn't want to be kind of caught out somewhere that they would be looking for more than a bank would offer. But whatever you feel most comfortable with and whatever works for you financially is the way you should go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Lucas. What are the differences between leased and purchased solar panels?
Oh yeah, another great question. I feel like I see these commercials all the time where they'll say, get free solar or well, we will rent your roof for solar. For me, I usually I would caution against leasing solar panels. When you lease the solar panels, you do not qualify for any of the incentives I mentioned earlier. The third party or the company that is leasing will get the tax break, federal and state, they'll get and other rebates and incentives as well. And it also could have an issue if you try to sell your property because a lot of these leases will go to 10 to 15 years. If you try to sell your house, you will have to either buy that lease from the company or whoever you're selling to will have to take over that lease, which can cause issues in the process as well.
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of headaches. Next question. What's the biggest issue from existing solar users?
I haven't really had any people tell me they have issues with it. Obviously over the years, it will degrade a little bit in how much it can actually capture, but nothing noticeable. The only real issues that we used to have was during installation. If installers didn't really know what they were doing, sometimes they would damage the roof and leaks would occur. But using a licensed contractor, and now that it's such a widespread thing, it happens a lot less. The only thing you have to keep an eye out for is if you do get solar is making sure trees are cut back so it's not blocking any sun. And obviously, if you live in Cambridge, Somerville, Boston, make sure no tall building is going to be built next to you to block out the sun.
Okay. Next question. How can I make my house, including appliances? Let's go back a little bit. Including appliances. See, this is what happens, technical issues. The computer has a mind of its own, but that's okay. We're going to power through. How can I make my house, including appliances, and more sustainable and energy efficient?
So that's a really good question because there's a multitude of ways that you can make your home more efficient. You can use power strips. You can replace your washer and dryer with more efficient models. You can use an induction stove instead of gas or electric. It really depends because when you actually have some of these items through Mass Save, you can actually get some rebates. If you go onto the Mass Save website and look at the residential rebates, they will have a list for you on what you can actually submit through them.
Thank you, Iris. Next question.
Actually, Dominique, I would say for this as well.
Mhm.
Smart thermostats are great. And as Iris said, MassSave has a lot of rebates. They also have an online store where you can buy thermostats, air conditioners, light bulbs, power cords, or reduced prices. Other options you can do is if you are doing laundry, if you wash in cold water, it'll really lower your bill because the majority of energy usage, about 90% of washing machines, is used to heat the water. Other things you can do is look to see if your town or utility have a power purchase agreement. These are agreements that you can opt in for where you might pay an extra 1 or 2 cents a kilowatt, so another $2 or $3 a month, where all of your electricity will be offset by renewable energy credits. This is great because it will kind of drive that renewable energy credit economy, as well as making sure all the electricity you use will be green or renewable. As Iris said, you can switch your appliances going all electric, is a lot more efficient and has less of a drain on the gas supply. And then just be aware of your plastic use. It's one thing I've been doing research on lately, but we're seeing increases in microplastics in the food we eat and in ourselves as well. And we produce about 300 million tons of plastic a year, half of which is a single use. And a lot of that is about the weight of all humans on Earth. So it's a lot of plastic we're producing. So if you can cut back there and just be, a little bit more aware, then that can make a massive impact as well.
Great tips. And then people who are washing just one little item of clothing in the wash. So that's a good one. Thank you so much, Lucas. Another question, how can non-National Grid customers take advantage of these benefits?
So Mass Save is actually partnered with not only just National Grid,
Iris,
but
speak up a little bit.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So Mass Save is not only partnered with just National Grid, they are also partnered with Eversource. And if you're on the Cape, Cape Light Compact can also be used for the Mass Save loan itself. Go on their website, take a look at their partnerships. It will definitely be more helpful, but not only National Grid consumers can take these benefits.
And if you live outside of Massachusetts and you cannot use Mass Save, I'd keep an eye out over the next year or so. With the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act, you're going to see a lot of rebates federally on everything from electric cars to weatherizing your home, to getting better windows and doors and heat pumps. And that should really drive states to also kind of push those incentives themselves as well.
Cool. This question is, can a heat pump alone handle mass winters, or do they need a furnace as well? We know we have really brutal winters.
Yeah, it's a great question. And we've seen a lot of questions on heat pumps recently as well. Yes, they can. Make sure you have a heat pump that is made for the cold weather. So Mitsubishi has one called Hyperheat. And even though it's super cold out and you would think having electric heat would be more expensive, it's actually extremely efficient, mostly because you're not heating air up to temperature like you're with a furnace. You're actually heating it, taking heat from the outside. Even in 0-degree weather, you can heat up your home, mostly because they use a refrigerant that is a very low boiling temperature. So even at 0 degrees, it's still warming up the refrigerant, which then gets compressed into a gas. And that compressor is what's using electricity, not the entire system. So you will find that they are very efficient even at cold weather. And heat pumps in general are extremely efficient because you can set them up in each room. So you can have zones set up so you're not heating the entire house. They're also great because they can be used as air conditioners. They can dehumidify, they can purify the air, and they're extremely quiet. And heat pumps themselves, as I mentioned, there is a rebate for them from the state. It's a $10,000 rebate if you're replacing an oil or natural gas system. You'd have to go through Mass Save and get an inspection. They would tell you if you need extra insulation most of which is free, but you need them to come out. And if you're just looking to add a heat pump onto your existing system, they also have rebate for that, where it's $1,200 per ton, and they have a whole calculation to see the tonnage. But once again, you need to go through Mass Save to kind of find the details and make sure you qualify.
All right. This question is, what is the process to find a qualified installer and pay them?
Yeah, so well, go ahead, Iris.
You both can answer. It's good. We like more information.
So for the Mass Save process, you can actually find a qualified contractor or installer rather on their website. They have a very robust list that you can look through, and all of them will be part of the program. So they basically have to sign up and be a part of it. When you pay them through the Mass Save loan itself, for us, we fund the loans as 2 checks. So each checks per contractor, each for half of the work to be done. So you're paying them at the beginning of the work and at the end of the work. The checks are good for 90 days. This kind of loops back into how you should be careful of your timeline and make sure that you're talking with your contractor to know how they're scheduling things out. Since the checks are only good for 90 days, if they expire, you'll have to come back and work with us so that we can rewrite them for you.
And if you're talking about solar, we have partnered with a company called Own My Solar. You can find them on our website. Pretty much you'd go through them, you'd make an account. They would do a satellite LiDAR data to create an accurate 3D representation of your house. And they'd see if A, solar would be good for you, and then B, how large of a system you could get with the amount of sunlight you do receive. They're also great because you can say you'd like to move forward and they will get a bunch of bids from different solar installers. So you can see the cost, the lowest cost and the highest cost, and just kind of get a better idea about what you would like to use. And then you can go through the installation. If you want to finance through us, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to pay out of pocket, or if you want to finance someone else, you're also more than welcome to. This is just a tool to kind of help you see if solar is right for you and give you an idea of how much it would cost and what the benefits and incentives would be. We teamed up with them also to offer members who do go through them and do install solar, that we were awarding 10 members with $1,000 cash if they do install solar up until December 31st, 2022. So if you are thinking about solar and you're just waiting, this raffle is also available to help you with the actual end of cost to make it a little bit cheaper for you.
Great money saving tips. So we're going to now go to some of our live questions. Let me go and check out the Q&A. One question, the person says, are Mass Save loans available for solar if I've already used them before? I've used them twice before for mini split and for updated gas boiler.
So Mass Save currently does not do solar panels, but they do.
Speak up a little bit, Iris.
I apologize. It must be my microphone. Mass Save currently does not do solar panels, but they do solar batteries for energy storage. If you've gone through Mass Save already for previous work that's been done, you have to go back to them, because what happens is they have to make sure that you would qualify for a second Mass Save loan.
Want to add anything, Lucas?
Not on that, no.
Okay, let me check out the next question. Can you use the Mass Save heat loan for solar? I think we answered that before, didn't we? Yeah, let's go to the next one. Does financing Mass Save solar loan or solar loans affect the amount you can apply for in home equity line of credit?
I think for that one, it will really depend on what your credit and your ability to take on other debts is, as well as what the what the value of your home is and how much equity you actually have in the property.
Okay, next question. Do you know, let's see, let me scroll up. Do you know what happens to appliances that are removed for upgrades? If I remove gas stove and replace with induction stove, how can I be sure that the gas stove is recycled or trash in a way that doesn't cause negative impact to the climate?
It's a great question. A lot of companies will offer haul away services. Some cities will as well. It really depends on the company taking it away. Stoves are not that, a lot of them will be, taken and used for other metals. The big one is really refrigerators because they have refrigerants in them that can be dangerous. And that is one of the benefits of Mass Save, as Iris said. As long as you have a utility account number, you can call them, they'll come to your house, they'll pick it up, and they'll actually give you a $75 check for recycling refrigerator through them. So it depends on your actual appliance, but just, be aware of who you're recycling through. And if you can use Mass Save, I would totally recommend them.
Thank you. Another question is, can one get a Mass Save loan for replacement windows for a home?
Yes, so you can actually do that for the home, and I believe every window is a $75 rebate.
I would just say for that, Mass Save does stipulate that it has to be upgrading from a single pane to an energy efficient window. So if you do not have single pane windows, you might want to wait for the Inflation Reduction Act, which also has some rebates for windows and doors.
Okay, this is another one. A friend offered to donate his solar panels. Would Mass Save work for the other steps if the panels check out as okay?
Mass Save would not be helpful because they do not help finance or offer really incentives for solar. If you're talking about other rebates that you might have, you most likely would not qualify for the tax rebate or the state rebate. If you do get them installed in your house, you most likely will be hooked up for net metering and smart. But once again, I would check with the state or the SMART program to make sure that you qualify.
Okay, this is another one. What is the average cost of buying and installing heat pumps to replace an oil heating system?
Yeah, great question. It kind of depends on your house size. For example, I'm switching from natural gas to heat pumps at the moment, and I have 3 rooms, so it will cost 17,000 before the 10,000 rebate. So it is a little expensive to do it. There are cheaper ways, if you do ductless, which has those big units kind of sit in the wall compared to ducted, it'll be more affordable. But you can always have people come out to walk through your house, kind of see where the issues are, and kind of give you a quote. You don't need to, go into anything, but there's a bunch of companies out there. Just make sure that the company is a contractor through Mass Save so you can get the rebate.
Okay, we have another one. One thing I've asked many Mass Save folks about is heat cold loss around door frames. I've tried every hardware store product. Nobody has any clear solution to this problem, which must affect thousands of homes. Do you know any knowledgeable person or have any suggestions?
Ooh, yeah, drafts are not fun. It depends, I guess, on the type of door. I mean, if this is an interior door, then there might be more of an issue about insulation. If you haven't had Mass Save come out to do an inspection, I would recommend that. Another thing you could look at is kind of seeing how the door was built to make sure there aren't any gaps, as the building might have moved and spread out a little, and so you can put some foam in there or something to seal the gaps. But definitely, I think if Mass Save comes out, they have these guns that can read to see where the insulation is, and if you're missing any insulation, you can buy a couple strips yourself to kind of put them in there.
So for that question,
Let's see. I don't think we have any more live questions. Or any final thoughts, Lucas and Iris, that you'd like to share with anyone? And also wanted to remind everyone that we do have a lot of this information in our chat, so you can also go in there and get some of that information that they talked about. Any last minute thoughts, Lucas and Iris?
Yeah, I mean, if you have any other questions about, any of the programs in Massachusetts or any, issues with being more sustainable, feel free to reach out to me. My email is probably on the next slide. Just shoot me an email and I'll try to help as much as I can.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucas and Iris. And again, we really appreciate your presence today, your expertise. And if you'd like to reach out to them, Lucas_Constanti at harvard.edu, and to Iris, HECU_loan_services at harvard.edu. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'd like to make sure that, you get all of the information. Again, visit our chat to, and if you miss anything, you go writing it down and you're like, oh goodness, that was going too fast. So we want to make sure that you get that information to really help you save some money and also save the environment as well. All right. And wanted to let you know that you could stay in touch with us at huecu.org. I reminded you at the beginning that there was a survey at the end. Take that survey for us when we're done here, huecu.org/survey. Let us know how we did, things we can do to improve any of our webinars. And then also wanted to let you know that stay in touch with us. And we also have a great service for our members, Thrive Financial Wellness, huecu.org/thrive. They have a lot of different blogs and workshops that are really helpful to all of our members, and videos and calculators you can do right on the site. Let me see. I have another question. Somebody just threw a question in there. Okay, someone said thank you, Lucas and Iris, and they said, actually, we have one more question that maybe you guys can answer before you go away. Hold on. It says, what is the average cost for solar battery installation? Is that something you can answer, Lucas? If you don't know, you don't know, it's fine.
No, a lot of these questions are all about sizing, really, like
Right.
the size you're looking for. They're coming down in price now as it's becoming more and more popular. Replacing generators. So you can look anywhere from 4,000 to like 10,000 for units, and then installation as well. I would wait for the Inflation Reduction Act to actually get finalized by the IRS to see what they're actually going to put for requirements for the actual batteries themselves. I know the auto loans have a lot of requirements to meet, cars made in the US, minerals from the US, etc. So just make sure that you know all the details before taking advantage of those rebates and incentives.
Okay. Someone put one more question on here. They said, did Iris have an answer to my door energy loss question? I think we did answer that.
So I was actually going to add a little bit of a personal story on that one, mostly because I got into a pretty old house and Mass Save came out. They did an assessment on there. And what ended up happening was our house is extremely drafty. So their suggestion was not only just insulation, but also sealing around the doors. But recently, I actually worked with a contractor who installed they installed new windows as well as a door for us. The door actually, like Lucas had previously said, if there are gaps or if it just does not close right, you are going to end up losing so much heat through it. Double check with your contractor and see if they can get it just slightly tight enough so that there's not too much of a draft. We actually had it done for our enclosed porch, and so little of the cold actually gets in now. Like, we can actually go out there in the winter and be comfortable.
Yes. Thank you. Again, thank you, Iris and Lucas, for joining us today. And wanted to remind you that this is just for educational purposes. We offer these webinars to you for our members, and wanted to make sure you consult any of your certified advisors and just really take the advice for your specific situation that will work for you. And of course, stay in touch with us and any questions you may have at huecu@harvard.edu, and visit us and follow us on our website, give us a like, and then anything you may have missed here today, it's being recorded. You can visit us on our YouTube channel at My HUECU. Again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Have a great one and join us for our next webinar.